Greetings, everyone, and welcome to the latest lesser known but awesome heroes. And today I will be talking about two of the great martial arts characters from Marvel and DC. So I'm going to kick it off with Ben Turner from DC, also known as Bronze Tiger. Now, Bronze Tiger was created by Denny O'Neil and Jim Barry, and he actually made his first appearance in Denny O'Neil and Jim Barry's novel Dragon Fists, which starred Richard Dragon. However, he did not make his first comic book debut until Richard Dragon Kung Fu Fighter #1 in April or May of 1975. And Ben Turner, to put it shortly, he is actually from an upper middle class black neighborhood in Central City. When he was 10 years old, his parents were attacked by a burglar, and he proceeded to murder the man with a kitchen knife. In an effort to control the rage that was inside of him, Turner actually turned to martial arts. And he eventually turned to crime because of this, and after some time he decided to travel to the Far East in order to finally come to terms with his inner demons. It was there that he met O-Sensei and studied under him, together with later recruit Richard Dragon. The meeting between Turner and Dragon serves as the start of the series Richard Dragon Kung Fu Fighter. And it was sometime later, after they were approached by Barney Ling from the organization known as GOOD, or the Global Organization of Organized Defense, and their reluctancy to work for him on the basis was the basis of the Kung Fu Fighter series. A flashback to DC Comics Presents number 39 in 1981 shows that Dragon discovered that Turner had been brainwashed into becoming the Bronze Tiger by Professor Ojo. Then used by Ling, who turns out to be a traitor. Dragon and Turner prove to be equals in the fight, which only ends when Ling is accidentally knocked out of a window. Now, it was later in Suicide Squad number 38 that Turner's further career is shown, where he and Dragon are hired by King Faraday to work for the CBI, the Central Bureau of Intelligence. If this was meant as a retcon or in addition to their history is not made clear. They were assigned to take down the League of Assassins, and they are in fact discovered by them, who kills Turner's fiancée and proceeded to brainwash Turner yet again. He was rid of his demons by channeling them into the identity of the Bronze Tiger, a masked assassin working for the League. It was during this time that he also actually helped train David Kane's daughter, Cassandra. And together with other members of the League, as Bronze Tiger, he developed a fearsome reputation in the world. His identity remained a secret to everyone but the League. And as Bronze Tiger, he was feared around the world. And the sensei was smart enough to ensure that he hardly ever took off the mask, and sending him on a new mission as soon as he finished another. For a time he became one of the most wanted criminals. He became a professional assassin, and he's actually killed on 3 continents. He is eventually sent to murder Kathy Kane, the superheroine, of course, Batwoman, the current Batwoman, if I remember correctly. And while fighting Batman, and he did fight Batman and actually defeat him, another assassin actually killed Kathy Kane. And it was after the Crisis on Infinite Earths, the initial post-crisis, that was initially determined that Kathy Kane had not become Batwoman and had merely been a friend of Batman's. which to me sounds like a retcon. And another character named Kathy Kane became Batwoman in 2006. And it seems to be a completely different character. And it was believed that in this continuity that she fell in love with Batman. It was also hinted that she did not die after Bronze Tiger kidnapped her. Learning of Bronze Tiger's true identity, King Faraday set up a rescue squad of Rick Flag and Nightshade. They retrieved him, and he was deprogrammed by Amanda Waller, who would later run the Suicide Squad, for which Turner would become a member of. Setting him up to actually be the team leader, but he ended up being the second in command under Rick Flag. And on their first mission, he faces Ray Vaughn, not Raven from the Teen Titans, but a different character named Ray Vaughn, who brutally cripples but refuses to kill. Or no, he actually brutally crippled the man, but he refused to kill him. And he developed, of course, a relationship with Vixen, who was part of the support crew, though it never really actually went anywhere. And there were quite a few other people within the Suicide Squad of the female variety that kind of did have a crush on him. And eventually he meets Ray Vaughn again, and he convinces him to join the Suicide Squad, and the two actually become a very effective fighting duo. And Turner would also, and although it was mostly populated though the Suicide Squad was populated by supervillains, Bronze Tiger was one of the squad's quote-unquote good members. So he kind of balanced the group out, and he often enforced Amanda Waller's rules. And he would eventually become the leader of the Suicide Squad, and he would actually save the lives of his team, even though they were supposed to be expendable. And it's just, man. And it's basically, the rest of it is that it talks about, his days with the Suicide Squad and how he eventually would leave, and that he was actually part of the search for Jack Drake, Tim Drake's father, when he had went missing. And he would actually be a member of the Justice League Task Force. And he would go on to be part of Checkmate and many other things. And he did appear actually in a Blackest Night event for the Suicide Squad. And basically, when he was part of the Suicide Squad, he would do a lot of things that his superiors did not like. He would try to save his team even though they were all expendable. They would question him on that. They would discipline him, punish him. And finally, he just escaped, went to the Far East, took Vixen. And he basically went on a journey, and he tried to basically redeem himself while trying to still struggle with his inner demons. And Turner would eventually actually become a good guy to quote-unquote anti-hero kind of character. And he even would eventually in the Far East run his own martial arts school. And Bronze Tiger is actually one of the top 10 martial artists in the DCU. And he's, if not in the top 5. And he's even been able to fight Richard Dragon to a standstill, and he's been able to actually best Batman, Black Canary, and even Cassandra Cain and Lady Shiva. So there you go, Bronze Tiger, a very obscure, not only a very obscure black superhero, but a damn good martial arts character in the DCU. Now we move on to Marvel's Master of Kung Fu, we move on to Shang Chi, who is the master of Kung Fu, but is also Marvel's version of Bruce Lee. And Shang-Chi's name is actually Chinese, and the rough translation means rising of the spirit. And he was actually kind of like Cassandra Cain and Lady Shiva in that respect, and even David Cain. His father, Fu Manchu, yes, I hear you laughing, go ahead and get it out of your system. Fu Manchu actually trained Shang-Chi since birth to be an assassin. And he would actually, through alchemy, and he was an immortal, like, sorcerer and crime lord. And he would use, through alchemy and virtual reality tech, would actually stimulate Shang-Chi's brain during his sleep to make him learn many different martial arts styles. This guy knows every martial arts style on the planet, but he predominantly uses wushu. And this guy is not only a very skilled hand-to-hand combatant, but this guy can wield any weapon that you can throw at him. Poison needles, shurikens, nunchucks, those double-edged swords, bamboo staffs. You name it, Shang-Chi can wield it. And even use it. And this dude's agility, his reflex time is so good that he can even go toe-to-toe with Spider-Man. And for those of you that have not followed up with Mount Vernon Kid's recent videos as he's talking about a lot of the current Spider-Man comics and what have you, Shang-Chi is actually helping Peter Parker develop his own martial arts style called the Way of the Spider. And he's actually gotten a drop on Spidey even when Peter's tried to use his spider sense. So that's kind of cool, and he's also been a member of Heroes for Hire Inc., alongside Misty Knight, Black Cat, and many others. So Shang-Chi is definitely a very lower class echeloned hero. But to get more into his backstory, he actually made his first appearance in the Special Marvel Edition number 12 in December of 1973, and he was created by Steve Englehart and Jim Starlin. And he's also been part of MI6, the Marvel Knights. He's also been a part of the Secret Avengers. He's just overall, it was actually funny because Marvel acquired the comic book rights to Max Rohammer's pulp villain Dr. Fu Manchu while they still held the rights to the Kung Fu TV program. Instead of producing a straight adaptation, Marvel combined the two, and he was introduced as the previously unheard of son of Fu Manchu. Many of Shang-Chi's supporting characters, mostly his father Fu Manchu and Sir Dennis Nayland Smith, were actually creations of Max Rohammer's. I'm sorry if I'm butchering that last name. But no characters from the Kung Fu TV series were carried over to it. So there's an interesting little factoid for those of y'all that are Shang-Chi fans, like myself or you know, Chris. Okay, and eventually he would actually and this was actually, of course, during the Kung Fu craze in the US during the 1970s, and it became superly popular. It actually survived until like issue 125, like up until June 1983, and it included 4 giant-sized issues, a king-sized annual, and he actually was co-starred with Spider-Man in a team-up issue and with The Thing, and he's also taken on like Man-Thing and many others. And he did several crossovers with other characters: White Tiger, Iron Fist, the Daughters of the Dragon. He was also part of Marvel's sister imprint magazine called Deadly Hands of Kung Fu. Okay, he was introduced. Here's the actual backstory. It began with Shang Chi being introduced as a man raised by his father Fu Manchu to be the ultimate lackey, the ultimate assassin for the would-be world conqueror. However, his first mission, in which he was to kill one of his father's old enemies, ended with Shang Chi learning that his father was a truly evil bastard. And disillusioned by this, he swore eternal oppression to his father's ambitions and fought him as an agent of MI6. And let's see. Trying to think. Because, like, I'm looking at... I'm sorry if I just stopped all of a sudden, guys. They apparently dropped this stuff off. So now I'm trying to find some stuff. Here we go. He was raised and trained in Kung Fu by his father and his instructors. He was also sent on a mission to kill the doctor, blah blah blah. I've already said all that. And he would actually battle a character called Midnight. Then he would meet his first close ally in Blackjack Tar, who would actually refer to him as Chinaman. And Shang-Chi became an ally to MI6 and opposed, and he would even battle the Sci-Fan assassins. As a secret agent, he encountered Man-Thing, and he also met Spider-Man. And he would battle many different Kung Fu characters. And I mean, looking at the information that I have here, it's just crazy. I mean, he's battled Hydra, he's battled Man-Thing, he's battled all these obscure Kung Fu villains. He's even actually battled Doctor Doom, which that's no surprise because Doctor Doom is the Marvel Chinese bicycle. Everyone's fought Doctor Doom. And a character called the Prime Mover. He's actually teamed with Spider-Man, Black Widow, and Nick Fury against Viper, Boomerang, and Silver Samurai. Fought a couple of other characters. He actually at one point retired. He actually forsaked his life as an adventurer, and he lived as a fisherman. However, he would return from China and would stop. And he almost died. However, he drank Fu Manchu's elixir that gave like immortality, although it did not, at least the way that I'm reading this, it didn't so much actually give him immortality, but rather it just cured him. He would go on and he basically would team up with Heroes for Hire Inc. and would just go all over. He would basically train the Daughters of the Dragon and what have you. He was involved in the Shadowlands storyline. He was part of the Secret Avengers. And so on and so forth. And just wow. Basically, to summarize it all up, Shang-Chi has had quite an extensive history, and he's fought quite a few people, and it's really kind of a shame when characters like this don't really get their comeuppance, because Shang-Chi, looking at a lot of the stuff that is here, this guy should actually be in the top tier of the Marvel Universe. But, you know, hey, what are you gonna do, right? And I mean it. Sorry, had a brain fart there for a second, but I mean, characters like Shang Chi and Bronze Tiger, these are characters that have a very illustrious history and are kind of underrated, especially Shang Chi here. You know, characters like Shang Chi, I mean, looking at Shang Chi's history, this guy should actually be more than on the top of more on the top tier of Marvel's entire like roster of heroes and villains. But real quickly, since we're getting towards the end of this video, I was actually going to do an update video and let people know, but I figure since I have some extra time here, I took down some videos recently. Now, the reason I did this was because a lot of the videos that I did take down, they weren't relevant anymore. And on top of that, they were videos that I had done in the past that I felt were a little old and needed to be gotten rid of. I didn't back them up. I didn't back them up on file, none of that stuff. I just simply got rid of them. But I just thought that I would let you guys know that in case some of you potentially ask me why I have a few less videos. But that is it, guys. That is it for this episode of Lesser Known But Awesome Heroes. Stay tuned for the next one. And I guarantee you, I think you guys will like the next one that I have in store for you.